third webinar on VMS batch milking. And if, Robert, if you could just maybe go to the next slide. You know, the VMS batch milking is a concept that maybe has been around a while, but is really getting a lot of interest, at the current moment. People are looking from, conventional to go to robotic, but maybe not looking for that 24/7, robotic milking experience. They're looking for something to fill that gap that they can keep those own tasks and have robotic milking involved. And we've talked about this in our introduction in our January webinar. And in February, we had Dr. Juan Velez from Rancho Pepper in Texas telling about their experience. But it is becoming a global phenomenon with VMS batch milking, and really happy to have, this global experience now to tell you with Robert Jensen from our DeLaval in covering through Europe. And Robert is a large herd cluster specialist in EMEA. The expertise that he has in overall robotics and how large herd works has been going on for many years, and since he's been with DeLaval since 1998 and working more closely with robotics for close to over 20 years now, since back in 2003, and really worked, with the Denmark market where he lives over that period of time. So done a lot of work with overall product development, launching activities, even when it came with the V300 as well. And then, he's been in 2016 cluster solutions specialist, working on that farm project development, sales support, and overall training, and has done a lot for VMS batch milking and how we're going to move forward with it with customers throughout Europe and around the world as well. So welcome, Robert, to the webinar.
Thank you a lot, Jason. Thank you a lot. Well, as Jason said...
Yep, go ahead.
No, as you said, this is the third webinar, and we discussed it, Jason, briefly, that it might be good. There might be people coming in. There might have been new people in this. So what we do actually start with a recap from the webinar in January with the European perspective, with the perspective that I brought in with based on a lot of farm visits throughout Europe, talking with customers about batch milking. And sorry, you're about to say?
And I was just going to say, if there's any questions throughout this webinar, we'd like to use the chat, so please put your questions in the chat, and then I'll, give them over to Robert to get them answered. So anyways, take it away.
And I don't see any questions, so I assume you speak up, Jason.
I do. I'll track that, and I'll be the voice for them.
Perfecto. Okay. In all my farm visits and all my meetings with farmers, often farmers have a question. What is the best farm? What is the best solution? What is the perfect barn? And I'm sorry to say, it just doesn't exist. And it of course, but it depends on a lot of different choices from you guys out there. What is high on the agenda? What is important to you? And I would say that with the batch milking, we are getting close. But we know that with the conventional setup, we know that parlor rotary provides a lot of good work routines, and they are known to us. They are proven, right? So do the traditional VMS setup. Actually, we know that the stations are working. We know the cow traffic are working. But what if we take the best from both of those two and fill out the gap? Because there is a gap, and that we met a lot of farmers that actually wanted to go robotic, but wanted to keep the way they operated their facility as they did with their rotary and parlors, especially when you go bigger. Maybe not so much when you're smaller, but especially when you get bigger. So let's have a look on that. One thing is very important to me, and that is batch milking is not gonna exchange or gonna be the new black. I mean, free cow traffic, we know it works, and I know it works very well, as do guided cow traffic. And I would say with VMS Batch, we just added yet another way of organizing, setting up the stations in the barn. And there's no right and wrong here, but especially to farmers that have a certain size, and I come back to that. But especially farmers that, for first of all, want to keep their TMR. I think that is one of the really main drivers. TMR and the low focus on the low cost of feeding, meaning at least concentrate as possible. And then, of course, regardless if guided or free cow traffic, there is an element of fetching cows. You can't avoid it. Moreover, in free cow traffic than in guided, but it is there. Separation of cows. If you have traditional VMS setup, you have a lot of different places, especially if you go big. A lot of different separation areas, a lot of different cow groups with separation in each group, maybe. And then some farmers say, well, in a robotic setup, the cows never leave the pen. It's a nightmare to do the bedding, get them out of there, and do the sprinkle of the bedding material as well. And I know that when I put it this way, I sound like I don't like traditional setup. I do actually like the traditional setup a lot. I just want to point out the things where this is different, where the batch milking is different. So don't take it as one is good, another one is bad. I just wanted to point out the differences, right? And then, of course, if you have a lot of stations, you have stations running in your barn, whether it's 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, running in your barn all the time, 24/7. And in nighttime, in traditional setup, you're not there. Well, it can be stressful to some people. And with batch milking, you have an operator there taking care of things, alarms, whatever happens. So you get free of stress, and you can close the door and say, I'm out of here. If you're not running 24/7, choice of your own. Then if we look upon the larger dairy farmers, there's a special kind of mindset compared to the 1, 2, 3, 4, or let's say 50 to 2, 3, 400 cows. The larger you get, the more important simplicity, predictability, and structure becomes. And efficiency on the worker. And not all farmers are alike. That's obvious. That's why we, as a company, provide different systems. We don't only provide robots, we provide rotaries. And we know that everything has worked well. But if you want to go robotic and you are a larger dairy farmer, this is one area that you should look into. If we look at the advantages with batch milking and then look at the mindset of the larger farmers, then of course the simplicity talks to, well, going batch, I just keep my traditional way of managing my herd. Nothing else changes. I just move the cows to the milking. And then another point that is important, that this is actually very simple to exchange. If things has a tendency to develop over time, and so do robots, but it's very easy to exchange robots in a setup like this. Predictability. I'm always in control of my milkings. I'm always in control in this setup of my number of milkings, whether I'm milking 2x, 3x, 2.5 or 4, some group maybe even 4 times, choice of your own. But the difference is that I know what cows are being milked specifically on that time. And then there's no fetching of cows. I'm fetching all of the cows, right? Move them, yes, but I have done that. Job done. And then most important of all, maybe to some farmers at least, that if one of these stations are serviced or they break, it do happen. Then of course, if you have 3 or 4 stations in a pen, 200 cows, 250 cows in that pen, and one of them, that's 25% of the capacity getting lost. But here, if you have a one pen, in this case, in the picture, it's 8 stations, or in other, it's 24 maybe, then it's much less capacity, and it's not this big, what should I call, stressful. It's not that such a stressful environment. So a lot of farmers like the predictability and structure that batch milking provides. Then I know that in the first session, Jason, when we talked about work efficiency, you talked about 2 operators in the North American setup. In the European ones, most of them are being operated with only one operator, taking care of the milking facility, the cubicle management, the cow traffic, and even time for doing things, other things. So only one operator is needed. Consistent milk routines. One of the biggest challenge that many larger farmers have is that the exchange in staff. Every time they get a new employee, they need to teach them, they need to train them how to do the things in a proper way. Robot always do the same thing. And the cows, they really like the way they are being milked. And then, of course, again, compared to a traditional setup, VMS setup, where you have boxes in the barn, then in a batch milking, you have separation of milk and cows to only one place. Simple as that. Then if you look at the farm profitability, of course, keeping the TMR feeding is a saving. We use around 200 to 400 grams a visit of concentrate, where we, as in many cases with free cow traffic or guided cow traffic, see anything between 4, 6, 8 kilo of concentrate per cow per day. And then, of course, we solve in many areas of the world the labor shortage issue at the same time. So keeping what you do, doing what you do today, solve your labor shortage issue, and everyone is happy. So how do we, what about the operation around this system? Yeah, it's the main task for the operator is the cow traffic, the cow management, and to some extent, of course, the whole robot area. But in the facility, those of you that hang around earlier than 12 o'clock American time, you saw that in the 24 setup there was no operator around. So it is very much the work is done in the pens, not in the robotic facility. So the majority of the work is here, and then of course installation, cleaning. And in many of our farms, people are actually having time to do other things, whether it's during nighttime taking care of maybe potential calvings or pushing feed or whatever. But it's all about organizing a decent work routine for the operator. If you don't manage that, then of course this is not a favorable solution. So it's very much about organizing the right time, how should I say, the work routine for the operator. Then the capacity is another question that comes up almost every time. The capacity of the VMS batch milking. And what do we see? We see station capacity between 7.1 and 8.4 cows an hour. And that is including cow traffic in and out. And if we look upon the milking time from just pure milking time, then 7 minutes and 30 seconds is around 8 cows an hour. 6 minutes and 40 seconds is around 9 cows an hour. If we picture that one cow takes over from the other immediately and there's no gap in between. that is, of course, the ideal world, and such doesn't really exist anywhere. Now, if we look at the Jersey and the low yielding cows with 2 to 12 to 14 kilo or 26 to 31 pounds and 2 eggs milking a day, they will be in the lower segment. Jersey cows are normally a little bit slower milking than traditional. But if you look at the Holstein high yielding cows in the 12 to 17 or 26 to 37 pounds, they are in the 2.5 to 3 eggs on the higher segment, number of milking per station an hour. So that gives you an indication of this 24 installation that you saw. They are with Jersey cows, they are on 175-ish cows an hour in that facility. And I know that the 22 in Texas is a little bit higher in cows per station an hour. Now, if we remember this down here and we say, well, this is 9 cows an hour, and it doesn't really include cow traffic. These 8.4 up here includes cow traffic. Then if we look at some farmers that are really maximizing this, then we actually do see farms that are doing 230 milkings in 24 hours a day. Actually, this is in 19 hours, but nevertheless, let's say 24 hours. 94 cows on one station, and I just wanted to show that this is from 19 and still in 24. So it was not a one-time off. He's doing the same thing in Belgium. So the station is capable of doing it. It's just a question of getting the cows in and out, of course, and presenting the right cows at the right time in front of the stations.
And just to clarify, this Belgian farm, this is a
This is
current
a
guided
guided
robot, guided
yeah.
traffic, not batch milking, but
No.
just showing that the capability of what the robot can do.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying, Jason. If we look at the 24 installation in Denmark with 800 Jersey cows, then just to clarify, explain you this is each line represent one station. Each green square represent one milking. And if you see a white spot, then then you're right. That is a time slot where there's no cow in the station. In this facility, they start in the morning with the sick pen or the special need cows or fresh cows, whatever. And then you see some local rinses where they may have had penicillin cows. So that is they're starting in the morning, and then they just continue adding cows into the facility throughout the morning, and then around 8:50 they stop milking. And then they have managed these around 800 cows with approximately 7.2 cow an hour, 7.3 cow an hour per station. And no one is there, basically. Only when they do the shifts and they add more cows, I come back to that, then there's a person there. In Italy, there's another farm milking with is it 12 stations? It is 12 stations, yes. 450 Holstein with 43 kilo or 95 pounds, 2.6 times a day. And in the morning, they start again, also with their special or fresh cows or attention cows. And they end in the midday slot. They end actually with those ones, and they don't even include them in the evening shift. So in that way, this way, they manage to have their 3X cows in the middle of the day, together with the special need cows at the end, and then they pretty much get 8 hours shift in between all the cows they're milking.
And I think this is a good graph to show there too, Robert, is that there is still some flexibility in that timing of groups, when it is, we talk about voluntary milking. We want those cows in the first 100 days, those fresh cows, to go through the robot more often. You can still make this happen here. Like, it's still how you want to manage your cows and moving those groups up, that can be managed.
Then if we take a closer look to the Danish facility, the farm owner is Claus Jacobsen. It's placed in the very south of Denmark. To those of you that know Denmark, it's a small country up north. If you pick up your phone, the QR code will be present in this slide and the next slide. If you pick up your phone, then you can scan this code, and you will have a 360-degree presentation of the farm for later. Today they have around 900 cows. They will, as time goes by, expand to 1,400 in the present facility. They are milking around 23,000 pound energy-corrected milk, and have a cell count on 100,000. That have actually been lower throughout the winter, a little bit higher in August last year. 8 employees covering everything. So that is basically the overall picture of this farm.
Sorry, just to go back there, 8 employees covering everything. Does that mean cropping?
No, they have cropping. They have 2 employees doing that.
Okay, so 8 employees overall. Obviously, they're on a shift, that sort of thing. So, okay, not working at one time. Total. Okay. Total.
No, not working at one time. Total. And in Denmark, the hour is quite. It's a 38, 40 hour work week. So it's not a 50 or 60. Why would they go for batch milking? Well, they wanted to be less vulnerable for labor availability. That was the top line. It is in certain areas of Denmark a challenge. The farmer is very structured, so they really would like the structure and the workflow, how they organize the work, and they saw batch milking being a supporter to that. Wanted the automatic milking, but this simple separation of cows and milk, they really liked. We actually did start the dialogue with a rotary on this farm, not with the automation, because of this actually. And then keeping the TMR feeding was also very high on the agenda. So those 4 reasons were the main reasons for this farmer to go batch milking. What about their experiences now? This they started up in May, and this was the quote that we had from him after 3 months. And we like to do that early, because otherwise you have a tendency to forget how the startup was. And here I think it's fair to say that the startup was much easier than he expected. He jumped in himself. On day number 7, he sent his operators away. He wanted to prove that this can be done by one man. So after 7 milking, he was the only operator doing all the cows. And ever since then, they have been one man operated, except for in the beginning when they milked their special need cows. Then they are 2 for the first hour-ish. Then the second person goes somewhere else.
And currently, how big are their group sizes?
They are working with 200 cow group sizes.
200 cow group sizes.
They plan to, he says, Claus liked to say that this is so simple. Anyone can be an operator. I mean, I can go there. He just took over the vacation period for 14 days himself a couple of weeks ago. So anyone can be an operator. And he plans to go for 2.5 milking at a later stage, but he would like a little bit more volume to more cows to be present, so he can give him a little bit more flexibility. Approximately 175 cows per hour at the moment. His experience, and I think that is the same experience as we have from all automated farms, that the older cows is not a little bit slow and learning the system. The younger cows is much faster in the system. So he looks forward now, being a year, 2 years down the road, seeing the development. And how do Klaus operate his system? And I think this is one way of doing it, and there are many ways of doing it depending on how the configuration is set up and so on and so forth. But this is one way. So when we bring cows to milking up, and yes, I do not necessarily start on talking about how to do it, but this is the experience that is high on our attention rate in Europe, is getting the holding areas not too wide. So in the beginning, we have installations that are a bit wider or somewhat wider, but we would actually like today, depending on the setup, to be between 5.5, 7.5 meter, not wider. And that has something to do with the cows, how the farmers see the cows flow in the holding pens. We had a tendency in the beginning to say, well, the whole pen should be behind this finger gate, but that's not the case any longer. It is actually possible to use the loading lanes as a buffer, so there's no reason to push the cows. But again, it depends on how you want to operate your facility. And then in a few cases, we actually have automatic gates. We have a facility in North Ireland. They start with an automatic gate in the morning, and that means that the milking starts by itself, basically. And it looks like this, and then it's set by time. Stations are ready to milk. Cows goes in, and the operator comes in half an hour, 3/4 of an hour later.
While that's playing, there's a question just back about the Danish farm. Did all the cows learn the system? They had never been robot cows before. No. So they weren't robot cows before. And what was
robot cows?
What was the control rate?
He made the shift from one day to another. 500 at that time. They started with 550, 600 cows, one day to another, all cows. Never went back. Did they make a few cows go out? I don't think so, actually. But it might be the case, but not many. We never judge the cows in advance. It's always the system that judges the cows. And often it's more a question of temper rather than teat configuration, I would say. Of course, if you have very high back udder for any reason, then it might be an issue. But normally, if cow has to leave a setup like this, it's more a temper question than a teat configuration.
Okay, thanks.
So how do they actually operate? Well, the setup in this farm is they have a finger gate down here at number 1. I can take it here, and at this is the lifting gate, and then up here you see a fourth or third gate where they can close up the area for the 4 stations the furthest up. In this setup, these 8 stations that we see behind this lifting gate is all connected to milk separation. If we have a blood in the milk or anything else down here, it will go to dump. Up here, it will be separated. It's also in this 8 stations that they milk their fresh cows, the sick cows, and so on and so forth. So they can move them up in this area, and then they can actually add a pen behind it in the morning.
Yeah, and it might be a little harder to see, but yeah, there is a couple posts installed.
There's a couple of posts here.
You know, by that broken color jersey there, that those gates would come over to. Yep.
Exactly. So what they do is that they put in a group, let them do their job for 30, 40 minutes. Then a guy will manually, from down here, clean up this area up to the lifting gate and add a new pen on the opposite side. Then he will go away for 15 minutes, come back, clean up the rest behind these ones, open the lifting gate, and then they're good to go. That is pretty much the normal procedure from group to group. Then they are in control of not having hangarounds, as you mentioned in the first webinar as well, that they don't have hangarounds in between the group shifts. Okay, so that was a little bit how they operate the facility. Maybe I need to say a few words on the return lane. Now, here, as you saw in the movie, yes, once in a while the cow gets out of the VMS. She is a little bit hesitant. Am I going left? Am I going right? Doesn't really matter. If she go left, she realizes she can't come out, and then she go right and then follow the crowd back. I mean, looking at this, you really see, and I hope you saw that in the video as well, how smooth things are going without interfering of people, except for at the group shifts.
The cow is going at her own pace. You know, as long as she's going at the right direction, that's those are some key points.
Yeah. So, how are we on time? We're good on time?
Yeah, we're doing well on time. And once again, if there's any questions, throw them in the chat, and I'll mention them here to Robert. But yeah, that was a good explanation of, you know, one of the, what is, I guess, suppose the largest VMS batch milking facility right now. But we have a lot of great examples that you're going to show us now.
Yeah. If we look around the world, basically, then it's picking up, I must say. And the ketchup will come out of the can, I would bet. But if we look around in Europe, then the blue dots are installations or facilities that are up and running, and the red dots are in progress. I would say they are in the construction phase. And if we look at the numbers, they are at the facilities. They're pretty much all over the world, whether it's in Colombia as a grazing, in North America and Europe. We come back to a few of them. We won't touch upon all of them, but a lot is happening in this area, I must say. And of course, especially in the countries where the structure among the herds are in the higher end. This is, I normally say that this is not for farms. Now I'm being very squarish and looking at the numbers to the left, but again, this is not ideal for farms on 400 cows. You need to be a bit higher or have an ambition of growing higher for this to make a lot of sense. Unless, as you see in many of these farms, they have grazing, or they may have other reasons for going this direction. But a lot of the stars here, they have grazing primarily or as a big portion during the summer. So if we actually, the first one of our installations is a grassland installation, not pure because it is in Holland. So in the winter they are in the barns, but it's a low budget, low input, low output, and it works to their satisfaction. What is very interesting to see in this facility is that here they actually put in a rather big group of cows behind this finger gate, and then cows are waiting out here, looking in and waiting for these ladies to move into the station. And when they feel comfortable, when they see the room for meat, then they walk in through this finger gate, and it goes very smooth. The operator here, he opened the stations, put in the cows, and then he's gone. Then he do his heifer, he do his calf, we don't see him for an hour and a half. And that's how it is. In another installation in Holland at 10 VMS started in July 23. They are milking at the moment 300 cows, gonna grow to 600. The interesting thing with this is that it's closed in rooms, and the distance here in the collecting area is quite small in front of the stations. They have a bigger room, as you see down here. But if I now play the video, and yes, this is an hour's milking in 30 seconds. But you see the cows are lining up. They're really eager to go in. And then he added more cows down there. As you saw, someone opened the door, added more cows. And then it keeps on ticking, cows getting in. And then, yes, they
And
will
actually, Robert,
at the very end. Then there is a guy at the very end.
Here it comes.
Sorry?
I was just going to mention, I just talked to somebody that did visit this farm, and they were extremely impressed.
Yeah.
You know, of the farm in the Netherlands and how well it worked. It really changed his opinion on how efficient batch milking can be. I'm just going back to a question. Yes, on that first grazing farm in Holland, the robots were curled, as you would say, on a bit of a rounded setup there. But yeah, I think we're seeing more straight line kind of setups now. Isn't that right, Robert?
I don't think it from an entrance point of view, from a capacity point of view, we don't see any differences. I don't think it matters. So straight lines are easier. It's cheaper to construct. These are basically bolted to slatted floor. So in this case, it really didn't matter. But in other cases, the groundwork, the concrete work around the station, well, if you can make it in straight lines, it's very fast and very easy to do. So we prefer straight lines.
And you can even just see the economical, you know, how it's built there. You know, it's just a platform, and they actually have some shipping containers as their offices. It's a coverall.
20-foot containers with the technical equipment, and this is all. I mean, it's low producing cows at the same time. So input output is balanced, I would say.
I'm just going to go through a couple questions just to get them out of the way. It was mentioned by Steve Jones from our advisory team in North America. When thinking big, you have to think about the time needed to clean the VMSs, and that's the in and out, I suppose. So obviously, just overall system cleanings. But if you want that robot to last, we always know the exterior cleaning is very important as well. So, you know, determine how, you know, that's going to work, and the labor you need to get that done. That'll determine that portion of it as well. One other question here. Oh, sorry, I'll let you comment to that, Robert.
No, if the one I know the best is the Danish one, because I'm there regularly, and there it takes 1 hour to clean the 24 stations after milking. But they don't wait until after milking. That is the point. I mean, they do it as they keep it clean. They don't clean up, so to say. If I express the difference clear. So it's an ongoing process. Every time they are there, they sprinkle the surroundings. So when they are at the end of the milking, it takes very short time, and it's spotless always.
Right. I'll just say this one other question here from Lisa. Is it fair to say that VMS batch is a substitute or alternative to the AMR? So DeLaval had the automated milking rotary, an internal milking rotary with robots to work with that. But Robert, yes, for sure it is the substitute for that that product.
I think it's a fantastic substitute. I think one of the things with the rotary, not having people there, because the idea is not having people. Well, what we do know is that a rotary only have one entrance, right? And we do know from time to time a bully cow, she will be standing. And as we don't have an operator, we didn't have that we don't have that in the AMR. They do pretty much the same as we do here. Then there will be elements of cow blocking the entrance. Well, in this system, this installation from North Island, we have 18 entrances. So if we have a bully cow, yes, she is blocking one station. We don't care. I mean, how long will she block it? We see. Maybe now, if maybe I can flip it a little bit and then coming back here. Yes, there is a gap here of what? 20 minutes with no cow. But is it worth for the operator to go down and do something about it? I guess not. So you have to accept this element of once in a while, there will be a white spot, but we see that in a traditional setup as well. I think it is an advantage.
Actually, when you showed that slide, I thought of that time of that little service. Maybe you had to do a little robot service. The cow couldn't come in, but you could see that all other robots were still milking away. Yeah. It didn't really slow down the overall time of that group.
I don't think it matters, but I think it's important that when you go batch milking, that it is a kind of a mindset shift, I would say. We looking at rotary, looking at parlors, we would like all the cows to get in. We would like the backing gate to go down and squeeze the cow and make sure they are all oriented towards the parlor. Here you need to relax, kind of. Make sure that the cows, they do their thing. The worst thing you can do, in my eyes, if you want to make this work without labor, don't add it. If you start pushing cows, the cows will expect you to come and push them in.
Yeah, totally.
This is the facility from North Island, and this is where they automatically open the gates in the morning, as I understand from my colleagues. They have fenced up. The original idea was that the cows were to enter through this area and then spread out around to left and right here. Today they make them all come in from down here, and this is, to my understanding, kind of a leftover area that they don't use today. So again, also one of the reasons why we say don't put too much space in between the robots, because it may not be efficient space to have that. This is we have a customer in the south of Italy. On his 2 farms, he have batch milking on both of them. This is an 8 VMS installation. Batch milking, plan to go to 500 cow on this facility. This is a straight line. And then he has this setup, a circular setup. And this was a strong demand from his side. We actually, together with him, designed this the first, and then we installed the other one first. The straight line was installed first, and this was installed later. The thing with this, with 18 stations in a circle, the area here becomes enormous. And you see down here, they have fenced up again the area. And it's that's why I do actually prefer straight lines. It's easier, it's organized. The building construction is so much easier. So everything talks in favor of the straight lines from a installation cost perspective. And we don't see any better throughput in these than we do in the other ones.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the actual, milk line and everything, much easier to clean when it's a straight line. And when you start putting in angles, there can be a potential, of, an issue one down the road. So as many straight lanes as possible, that's what we'd prefer to have.
Exactly. This is an Italian one. 12 VMSs. The one that I talked about, 14 VMSs. The one with the free milking 2.6 time a day in the morning, and all cows in the morning and the evening, and then a group in the middle. Rather narrow holding area, and this is a backing gate, but they use it mainly for cleaning up the floor afterwards. So this is a setup that works very well. This one in Italy, where you have the cows coming in from down here and then returning out this direction. So working very well. And then, of course, this one from North America that you...
Sorry, I'll just go back to that, because that's been a big question, is the crowd gate. You said the backing gate, why we don't use it. And I think it's been pretty much explained before. It's giving that cow the ability to being relaxed, calm in that holding area and go in any robot that she wants. This farm, and it's, we're still earlier on, in overall batch milking. There's going to be some difference of setups, but I think this family thought that this would be an advantage as a bit of an automation to clean up, you said, that group and get them pushed down to the last, 4 or 5 robots. So I think you just still need to be aware that it's maybe not necessary, but it's something that this family decided that they wanted to do.
If we should put a comment on the crowd gate, Jason, then if we imagine we have a crowd gate here, and now we have this holding area full of cows, and now we start moving it. Every time we move it, then we reduce the milking opportunities for the group of cows in here. So now we move it up here, and then we put a group behind. And then they have a limited milking opportunities as well. So the value is, in my eyes, very low. And if you see how the operator and the Dane is set up in a 7 meter, what is that, 21 foot width holding area, is capable of just getting the cows in like this. Who wants to wait for a backing gate to move? I mean, it takes way too long time.
Yeah.
So I don't see the value. I think we have touched upon this as well. This is one of the alternatives that we haven't installed one yet. We have 2 on the way in Denmark, actually, with this setup. Very condensed footprint, I would say. That is one of the main reason. The entry lanes provide safety for the cows, for the lower ranking cows. And then we have shorter return lanes. Not that return lanes is an issue, but that is just the advantage now if we really should point at anything. So I'm sure this will be a very good setup for the farms as well. Then you had the question, Jason, and the first one, what about the size? Is 24 really the limit? And in principle, yes, it is. It's all about the data management within the stations that is a limiting factor. But if we put it up a bit smart, operate this as two different herds in the same system, then we have a 48 setup. So, and this is optimized. I know this is an ideal world, and you can always argue, should it really be optimized with group sizes that fits this? And this is an example. It's not gonna be built, or at least there's no plans for it. But it is an example how it can be done. Another example.
As we develop things over time, you know, it will become possible. So, yeah.
Exactly. Another setup is a setup like this, where we have a farmer that wants to milk his the cow that needs special attention, the fresh cows, and a number of cows that maybe need a little bit more attention. And then this is the pure milking cows, where just running like the clock. So this is also an alternative: attention, less attention. I know that many of you have the same philosophy in your groupings and setups and the traditional barns, but this is one way of doing it, at least. We do also see farms that actually want to milk their fresh cows and somewhere else, not moving them. Because they need maybe the milk for their calves, depending on how their setup is. Then of course the beauty with batch milking is this is for your milking cows, and then all the other cows, they are managed somewhere else. And then the facility down here just runs like the clock, and up here you pay more attention. And this could also be a parlor, a smaller parlor, or whatever. All alternatives is good alternatives, but VMSs surely do the job here. So we are getting closer to the hour, and I have a few more slides only. So when you're evaluating if I should go from conventional rotary parlor to batch milking, I think that it is important you ask yourself, well, the main driver, the thing that really should pay the shift, the transition, is of course the labor. No doubt about it. And I know, and you know, that the labor is only going to get up cost-wise. In Europe, we are on 35 euro cost per hour in many countries. And I know that you are in the same area in North America and in some areas. And what about in 5 years' time? Where are we? No one knows. So labor is one thing, but that is the thing that when you make a calculation, it's so bloody easy to put a number on. I save this amount of hours, and that is this is the hour rate. This is what pays the bills. Okay, but having the same milk routine day in, day out, what is that worth for you? Milking cows automatically, and keep the TMR. What is that worth? I can't put a value on that. Jason, he can't do that either for you. Only you can do it. So it's very much about you putting values to these points. Separation of cows and milk to one place. No cows in the bedding or in the pens when you're doing the bedding. This is actually, I didn't invent that myself. That is some farmers that say, well, this is one of the reasons why I want to go this direction. I want my cows to go away. I want to be fast in doing my beddings, do the sprinkler of bedding easily with my small loader or whatever he's using, and then there's no cows. Fantastic. And the other one is no need to organize a weekend or night backup call for the alarms. Well, I have one. I already paid him. I don't pay a guy for sleeping in his bed to be on call for an alarm. Otherwise, I'm going to have the alarms all the time myself. Is that something? Maybe not. calm cows, possible to lease the system. Well, and then, well, things wear out, I know. But when things are worn out, it's rather easy to exchange in the same house. You can even do it 1 by 1 or 5 by 5 or whatever pace you want to do it. Then you can do the exchange, and that is another aspect that many farmers appreciate with the batch. Having that in mind, it's not a rotary. So I need to build a new building. No, I use the same building the next 25, 30 years maybe.
Oh, nice.
And then to a lot of farmers becoming an attractive place to work is an important thing for the future. So those points, I think you owe yourself time to evaluate these points when you and if you go batch milking. What is it worth for you? So, Jason, questions?
Yeah, and there is one question. Stephen has a 60 head farm, and thinking that this is for him because he's also grazing. What is our smallest operation currently? There's a 6 unit.
The ones that I will consider and call batch is 8, but I'm sure that there are farmers that have way over capacity in a traditional setup. If it's 4, if it's 5, for maybe not for 60 cows, but have a way over capacity in the setup to milk the cows, because the challenge when he's grazing is when the cows come back from grazing, of course. 8 would be my answer, but as I say, I'm sure that there are someone that runs it in a smaller setup.
Yeah, and it all comes down to, how long do you want to wait for that whole group of cows to go through, the robots and get to the next grazing, pasture if you're rotating. So there's probably some discussion on all of that. Yeah.
And depending on where the gentleman is living, then of course again, is it year-round grazing? Is it summer grazing only? We have a number of stations that in New Zealand, Australia that runs year-round grazing, even in North Ireland, in Ireland, on pasture. So it's definitely manageable.
Thanks, Johan. Yes, you're right. There's a 6 unit V300 installation in France. Is it possible to use batch milking without feeding in the VMS?
I would think so, but I have not been the guy that have advocated a lot for that. I must say, I'm sure it is possible, but I know that you have tried in a period of time in the installation in Texas running without feed, and it worked okay.
It did, and remember, typical robot operations. The feed has been a motivator in free traffic, and then when we get to more guided systems, it's we can reduce that amount of pellet, and now we say it's keeping them comfortable and occupied, and we keep on challenging how much we really need to feed, because if these cows are calm already, then do they really need any feed? So I think we continue to be challenged on that, and we have seen progression over time. Parlors, rotaries started with feed. They don't have them today. Will we get to a point where we won't need feed in a robot? I would say there is a possibility, but I think there's a lot of different things that you need to do to be able to have no feed. You have to train your heifers. You have to have really good feedback out in the bunk. There's and just having that attention to detail to make sure cows are getting milked out, and less incompletes, kickoffs, that sort of thing. And if you're keeping track of all those sort of things, there is a possibility that yes, you could probably have no feed, within that robot. What type of collars are recommended for the robot? If it's identification, we can just go with an ear tag.
Yep.
Collars, and now with our new DeLaval Plus behavior analysis system, that's also an ear tag, so that the collars aren't needed at that point in time. A little shameless plug there. Anyways, yes, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you very much for overall interaction here today with your questions. Big thank you to Robert for giving us a little bit more of what's going on and around the world. And there's several of these farms, dealers, DeLaval, we're sharing these stories within our social media outlets as well. So you'll be able to follow up what's going on there. Once again, if there's any questions, please contact your local DeLaval dealer or just reach out to us as well when you're needing some more information at that point in time. So thank you very much. And this is our last of this webinar series, but it's not the last time we're going to talk about DeLaval VMS batch milking. Anyways, take care, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. Bye.